Welcome to another episode of Built with Jason White. I'm very excited about this one. This one is, we are celebrating 250 years of freedom here in America. And so I thought, what better thing than to talk about the foundation, America's foundation. So we're going to touch a little bit on that today. If you haven't seen one of these episodes, this is our Foundation in 15 episode where I just try to share some information. We keep it under that 15-minute mark, and hopefully you take something away that is benefit and useful to you. So, as we've been kind of talking about 4th of July coming up, I've actually been seeing a lot of videos, and this is what got me excited about just being able to share this message is, as you know, FIFA World Cup's going on right now, and U.S. is in the elimination bracket, and I'm seeing a lot of videos online from people that have come from other countries to come watch the FIFA World Cup, and they have been absolutely just praising America and how they love it here. They love the food. They love the people. They're really enjoying their experience here, and that got me really excited because a lot of times we can get kind of inundated with negative news, bad things going on here and there, and so it's nice to get a little bit of outside perspective and see how great America actually is. And the main thing is just understanding, like, as we celebrate 250 years, it's worth asking, man, what was our nation built on, right? Our founding fathers were not perfect men. They weren't. They had disagreements. They had flaws, different theological beliefs. But many of them believe that our rights came from God, not government. And that virtue and morality was just key. They were essential to preserve liberty. So, we talk about houses and strong foundations, and I think that the reason that we've been able to sustain our freedom for so long is because we did have a strong foundation. So I want to take a little bit, talk a few points on that. And so point number one, instead of just asking, hey, how old is our country? We know we're celebrating 200, what made America strong in the first place? And point number one is what I believe is freedom begins with God. And so, I mean, you just look at the Declaration of Independence, and one of the most powerful statements I believe ever written is found in that opening of the Declaration of Independence, and it says that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. And that's huge. That's huge. The Founding Fathers understood that our rights are not granted by a king. They're not granted by Congress. They're not granted by a president. The Founders declared that they came from our Creator. And that single idea changed the world. That single idea was what launched our freedom and gave us the great nation that we get to enjoy those freedoms in today. So, if our freedom ultimately comes from God, then I think it's our responsibility to honor Him. And on that note, just a historical note, the Founding Fathers, they held a wide range of beliefs, religious beliefs, and historically many believe that the rights came from God, not government. Biblical ideas significantly influenced the early American, political thought and why they wanted to kind of launch what they were launching, and which was that, to kind of break away from Britain and be free, a free nation. But they were really adamant that the rights were granted by God, by a Creator, I should say, is how they put it, and that they believe virtue and morality absolutely were needed to support a free republic. And so that's kind of the historical. Not all of them were devout Christians or anything like that. I just want to make that note. But they all had that mindset of a Creator, and that's where our rights came from. So again, point one, freedom begins with God. Number two, I believe this, character sustains freedom. So they understand something. The Founding Fathers understood something that we often forget, in that freedom without character becomes chaos. And I think we've seen that in many parts of the world, of our nation today. If you look at, and I'm not going to point out anybody, I think you could probably name a few different cities or states that I don't know if you want to call it lacking character, but I will say that it's mass chaos. And if you look deep into it, God's probably not the center of it. So just want to throw that out there. Many early American leaders emphasize that self-government depends on self-control and virtue. And I think that's very important. Laws alone cannot create a healthy nation. Now, they are helpful, they are beneficial. However, the laws alone do not stop or create that healthy nation. So healthy people, and I think healthy communities, and even dive a little deeper, healthy families build healthy nations. And as you know, here on Built with Jason White, we really try to focus on forging strong men, strong families. And that's key. I do believe that healthy families build healthy nations. So, instead of asking yourself, which we can all sit around and ask ourselves, what's wrong with America? What are the bad things that we see every single day? And all you got to do is turn on the news and they'll tell you what's wrong with America. But, maybe we should ask what's happening inside my own home, right? How am I really setting the tone within my home for the nation that I want to see here in America? So revival usually always begins around dinner tables before it ever reaches government buildings. So keep that in mind, that it starts in your own house. That's point number 2. Character sustains freedom. And the last point, which I think is something that I've learned over the years, and hopefully many of you see it, it starts with me. Point number 3, it starts with me. So it's easy to complain about the culture. I find myself complaining about things sometimes, and I have to check myself and say, hey, hold on. It's definitely much harder to build character than it is just to easily complain about what's going on or the culture around you. And really, the strongest way to change, if you see like a change that you want to happen in America, it's not simply through politics. It's really by raising godly children, loving your spouse, serving your neighbor, and living with integrity. These are things that you cannot create a strong nation without these things. I really believe that if you are able to accomplish those things, again, I'll say it again, raise godly children, love your spouse, and I have a whole talk on that particular topic as far as how to be a good godly husband. And that will come out in future episodes for sure. But I've spoke on that at the Built Elite Men's Conference. But loving your spouse, serve your neighbor, and live with integrity. Just being the salt and light where God has planted you. God has put you in a spot, whether you want to be there or not. Some people say, I wish I lived here. I wish I lived there. You know what? God put you here for a reason. Be the salt and the light where you are, and be able to serve others around you. If enough people, I think, build their life on Christ and they are that salt and light, communities will change. So, and when communities change, as I said before, I believe nations change. And so, this week, just ask yourself, am I helping build the kind of nation that I want my children to inherit? And if you feel like you're not, that's okay. That's okay. The best time to change is now. Right? We can make a difference still. There's still, whatever you did in the past doesn't matter. There's going to be a future of things but right now you have the ability to actually change that perspective on what you believe, what you think, and how you approach that situation. So just in closing, and I'll wrap this up. This was a quicker one. I like it. But I believe that, in America, as we celebrate 250 years of freedom, this nation is still awesome, still great. I love that we all have the freedom to speak our minds, our thoughts on what we believe in, and that is great. And I believe that the greatest strength has never been its wealth. It's never been its military. Even though we have a strong military, we have great wealth. It's never been its politics. Lord knows the politics are all over the place these days. I believe that the greatest thing about our nation has always been the people who recognized that there was a God greater than themselves. And as we celebrate that 250, let's just make sure we're building the next generation on that same foundation. So a nation's future is not built in Washington. It's built right here in our homes, our churches, and our communities, one faithful life at a time. And so until next time, keep building what matters, and remember, you were built for this. Happy birthday, America.